All right. And after country comes all of the people that make the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation possible, to all of our generous members and partners, to our special partner institutions, senior special partner institutions, our corporate members and individual members, all who, without your support, we would not be able to keep bringing you what we do every week, as we have done for the past, by this year, 27 years. So as the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation is a member-supported nonprofit foundation, and without without your generosity, we wouldn't be able to bring you all of our sessions every week. For those of you who are joining us this morning, Happy New Year. It's great to have you here so early in the morning, again, for the first session of 2024. If you are joining us on our social media uploads later, welcome, and we hope that you enjoy today's session. If you feel that today's session brings you a lot of value, if you learned something from it, leave us a comment down below if you have questions or comments, or you'd like to learn more about our speaker or our other members, and we'll be happy to get to that. If you are interested in joining us for our live session, our Zoom sessions, so that you can engage the speaker after our formal sessions, or gain access to our wide network of agribusiness and countryside development organizations and professionals, do consider joining us as a member. Our links are in the description. You can send us an email, introduce yourself, and we'd be very happy to have you on board. But without further ado, I'd like to invite Ernie Ordonez, our chairman, back for the introduction of our speaker this morning. Ernie, please come in.
President Julius, the topic is exciting. The speaker is even more exciting. I'm very honored and pleased to introduce him. The topic, the Livelihood Zone Cluster. We all know that without cluster, our country can never progress. And we've gotten really left behind. Thailand is 60 billion in exports. We have only 6 billion. I'm sorry, they have 40 billion in exports. We have only 6 billion. That's because they have clustered the small farms and we haven't. So that's an exciting idea, his topic, but he's more exciting. I'll tell you why. He took BS Geography in UP Diliman, so we thought that was it. But he wanted to contribute, so he took Masters in Public Management to serve the country in Ateneo School of Government. But he capped it off with a doctorate in a group that I really admire. It's in UP Diliman. His doctorate in Public Administration is from the National College of Public Administration and Governance. People who are aware of this know that this group produces excellent leaders. Actually, today, he's the program policy officer, vulnerability analysis of the World Food Program Philippines in the country office of the Philippines. He does food security and nutrition assessments. He does research to support policy advocacy and capacity building of a group that I've long admired. It's a very progressive group called Institute for Popular Democracy. I think this was also inspired by Boy Morales, who has since passed away. He was known as a person who loved the masses. He's an instructor and researcher at the UP Department of Geography and the Third World Studies Center. That's another group. So actually, we're very pleased because he's not only extremely bright, but it looks like his motivation for his life is to serve people, given what he's chosen to do, to teach at Third World Studies Center, to be a leader in Institute of Popular Democracy, and his topic, Livelihood Zone Cluster, about the need for clustering so that we can progress like other countries. So it's my honor and privilege to introduce him. But before I start, I'd like to request Noy the following. Noy, this new year, we really want to, contribute a lot to poverty reduction and countryside development. And the speakers, we ask them to do things. First of all, we engage them after they speak because, as our former departed chair said, our job here is not just to talk, but to create action from the talks. So from each talk, we want to know what we can do to promote the mission of our speaker, Noy. So actually, we'd like you towards the end to say how we can help you, how we can spread, because this is not really just education. This is really action. So we want to know how we can help this mission. And we're a bunch of businessmen and women, and God has given that us that predisposition. So we have contacts with the banks, with businessmen, with government, etc. So if we can do something there, like help get you money or network you with other people, even government bureaucrats who are hard to get to, we'd like you to tell us what to do. And the second thing we want to request you to do, aside from giving us your phone number later, so we can talk to you. And worldwide, I'd like to say under Julius' leadership, we've gone from 30 face-to-face to 600 different people every month. So we'd like you to give us your phone number. But before that, aside from telling us how we can help you, we'd like you to spend 5 to 10 minutes about your personal life. How did you get into this, and what makes you passionate about this? So we get to know you a bit. And the people around the world would like to know what drives you, right? So let's start by saying, well, let me get the logistics out first. First, could you please, I know you can put it in the chat box, but some people abroad do not have access to the chat box all the time. So now, could you just dictate now either your office number or your personal number so we can reach you, Noy? Could you give us right now verbally what is your phone contact number, please?
Yes, good morning, Sir Ernie, and thank you very much for the kind words. No, so my mobile number po is 0917 sorry 0917-594-8629.
Okay, 0917
594-8629. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we've had speakers who've been contacted, and they really value the contact, right? Secondly, we'd like to we'd like you to tell us how you got into this. What motivated you, and why you're doing what you're doing now, so that we get a personal touch. How did you get into this? I mean, you're a very bright guy. You could have gone into banking and became one of the richest bankers in the country. You chose this. Tell us a bit about yourself for 5-10 minutes. Then we can go into your topic. So, Noy, can you please tell us about yourself?
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sir Ernie. My first year in WFP is in 2010, and I think it's actually serendipitous, no, to be part of this. I was in the Department of Geography at that time. I just finished my early morning class, and then there's a call, and then they said they're looking for someone who's into free and open source GIS, no, and I happen to be one, and that started everything, no. So by and large, po, I'm at that time I'm already engaged in researches on agrarian reform, and then civil society, state engagement, and I thought those are important topics, no, that can be brought into the United Nations. In the United Nations naman po, what I found was that it's the humanitarian work is indeed very empowering, and not only to the people that are providing services, but also to many people that are needing help, no. And in a way, these are confluences of different siguro factors, Sir Ernie. But by and large, you said it a while ago. Bottom line is I want to serve po our kababayans, the people that are in need in various parts of the country. And I happen to be I consider myself as a Filipino geographer, no, and I also and I like working on maps, doing spatial analysis, data analysis, no, and then visualizing all of this in a map, no. So this brings me to where I am right now.
Oh, thank you, thank you. We hope most of the youth are like you, motivated to serve the country. Yeah, please go ahead now and give your talk. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me share my screen po. So good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to all. thank you for giving us the opportunity, to be able to share the key findings of one of our major projects in WFP. So for today, I'm going to talk about our work on climate change and food security analysis, and hopefully with the key findings, we'll be able to understand more how climate change is impacting food security in the country. By the way, you can also see my email address here. So in case you would like to send me communications, please do so using this. Okay, so the outline of my presentation is in this slide, and the details will be discussed in the succeeding pages. Okay, so let's start with a brief introduction of WFP. So WFP, or World Food Program, is part of the United Nations family and is considered to be the largest humanitarian agency fighting hunger worldwide. In its work WFP supports the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular, Goal 2, which is Zero Hunger, and then Goal 17, which is Partnership in Support to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And as a recognition of its work, WFP was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2020 for advocating food security and then clearly enabling the achievement of development and peace in areas where it works. So right now, WFP works in about 80 countries in the world. One of those countries is the Philippines, of course. And in the country, we're implementing what we call a comprehensive program, which aims for saving lives and then changing lives. So the saving lives is the humanitarian part, and in this particular area, we're implementing a very big project called Emergency Preparedness and Response. Within this project, there are a number of different activities, such as the forecast-based financing and anticipatory action, last-mile climate services, multi-hazard impact-based forecasting and early warning system, and as part of our evidence generation, we have the climate change and food security analysis, which I'm going to discuss today. Now, for the changing lives, this is the developmental component of our work in the country, and it's composed of the different programs. As you can see, most of these are being implemented in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and we're implementing there what we call an HDP, Humanitarian Development Peace Nexus project. We're also working with the national government and the regional government to be able to support our nutrition program, also strengthen our social protection programs, and then, of course, strengthen the different country capacity initiatives in the Philippines. Okay, now let me go directly to the climate change and food security analysis. So the CCFSA is short for the Climate Change and Food Security Analysis. It was undertaken by WFP in starting October 2020 and was able to finish the national analysis by May 2021. But in July 2022 until the last quarter of last year, we've embarked on regional analysis in 5 regions, namely Barm, Mimaropa, Soxargen, National Capital Region, and then Zamboanga Peninsula. The main objective of the study is really to understand the impact of climate change on food security in the country. While doing the project, we're lucky enough to be able to set up a technical working group composed of representatives from 9 national agencies. As you can see from this slide, at the start, the Task Force Zero Hunger was an active member of the technical working group when it was still part of the Office of the President during the previous administration. Note also that we've commissioned the International Center for Tropical Agriculture, or CIAT, to do many of the technical analysis for us. So some of the things that I'm going to share with you are part of the work that they did for WFP. Now, the CCFSA has a number of components, and as such, we've embarked on or utilize various methodological approaches. In a country where a high majority of the households rely on the market or engage in monetary or money transactions, to be able to source their food, we thought it would be good to understand livelihood, no, as a proxy for understanding food security in the country. As such, we've embarked on a livelihood mapping. And to be able to do that, we've collated different available information, secondary data in the country and even in other global sources, and then use the power of the GIS, or the Geographic Information System, to be able to overlay them. Now, the one requirement for us was to look at available data up to the city and municipal level, no? Because we thought it would be good to bring down to as much granular level as possible this kind of analysis. No? So as you can see there, part of the methodology was really to overlay them, come up with some statistical analysis, summary, using free and open source software like QGIS, and then come up with what we call a livelihood zone. Now, the livelihood zone that we generated is composed of what we call the major livelihoods, or the dominant ones that occupies the largest, no, area given a certain administrative region. No? So, so there's still more complex activities down there, no, on the ground. But in the maps that I'm going to show you, these are just the dominant ones. No? Now, aside from the livelihood mapping, we've also embarked or used an analysis to be able to generate crop suitability. No? And to do the crop suitability, we use the eco-crop model in R. No? R is a statistical software. No? And in that particular, and using this model, eco-crop, no, we look at the monthly temperature and rainfall in different parts of the country, and then assess the different crop requirements. No? Now, as you can see from this slide, to do that, we've selected at least 6 major crops in the country, namely rice, corn or maize, banana, eggplant, garlic, and onion. So many of these are actually part of the pinakbet, no? Or ingredients of pinakbet. And this was selected with the help of our nutrition consultant. Now, to be able to understand them, we look at through 2 models or scenarios in the future, no? And these are called RCPs, or representational concentration pathways. These are models that shows the concentration of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. So we use the 4.5, which is considered to be an intermediate scenario, which says that at a certain point in the future, about 2040, there's an expected reduction in the amount of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. We've also looked at 8.5, which is the business as usual. It's a scenario which, in a way, says there won't be any change in the way we do things. There's no expected reduction of greenhouse gas in the future. And in the future, when I say future, we look at 4 temporal points, namely 2030, 2050, 2070, and 2090. But for the presentation today, I'll be limiting my presentation to only 2 temporal points, 2030 and 2050. Aside from the crop suitability analysis, we also looked at the climate hazard susceptibility analysis. No? And in this particular part, we've identified 6 natural hazards, namely typhoon, flooding, drought, storm surge, saltwater intrusion, and sea level rise. And then we look at how susceptible are different areas, namely cities and municipalities in the countries, to these 6 natural hazards. Now, also part of the methodology is to present, no, the initial findings for consultation to different experts. No? As you can see from the slides there, we've reached out to a number of experts from the Department of Agriculture, even other national government agencies, state colleges and universities. There were 3 that we approached, representing the Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao island groupings. And then, of course, 2 provincial agriculturists from at least, I think, 2 provinces in Mindanao. And then just lately, the regional analysis, we've reached out to representatives from Barme, Maropa, Sargent, Zamboanga Peninsula, and then NCR. So after doing all these things, we were able to produce at least 3 knowledge products. No? So I'm happy to tell you that the first set is actually the reports. No? So we have 1 national report and then 5 regional reports. We're also able to generate a database composed of 71 indicators that are almost available in all cities and municipalities, the 1,634 in the country. No? And then, of course, the last knowledge product is what we in WFP would like to claim as the first ever livelihood zone map in the country. No? So prior to the project, we looked around and we were not able to, found any any map like this, no, that is nationwide and available at the city and municipal level. Okay, now with these products, how can then we do livelihood zone cluster analysis? First, let me define what livelihood cluster analysis is all about. You know? So in our mind, um, taking off from the work of FAO in 2011, we would like to have a map of the country that shows different parts or packets, no, or series of areas where people share relatively similar economic activities and homogeneous living conditions based on a combination of biophysical and socioeconomic determinants. No? So the idea is to come up with clusters, no, so that we'll be able to come up with coordinated, holistic, integrated development plans rather than the current development plans that are limited to the administrative boundaries of each of the LGUs. No? Now, what we would like to tell everyone is that CCFSA has a baseline and a base map of 10 major livelihood zones in the country, though most of these are largely agriculture-based. What are these 10 major livelihood zones? So you see that in this screen, no? So the annual, so we know that the Philippines is largely an agriculture country, no? And we're an archipelago. But among the different, when we look at the maps, no, the largest portion, or at least area coverage, would be considered to be under annual crop zones. No? So the annual crop zones, as you will see in the next slide, accounts for about 37% of all the cities and municipalities in the country. No? So when we say annual crop zone, it refers to all activities related to growing vegetables and root crops, no, that are harvested seasonally and have an annual life cycle. The next major livelihood zone is the perennial crop zone, no, and this naman refers to activities related to growing more permanent plants, no, mostly fruit-bearing plants or trees. The third one is the irrigated rice zones, which accounts for about only 20%. No? So though we really love rice, the fact is information or data would say that only about 20% of the cities and municipalities in the country are dominantly having irrigated rice zones. No? And the rest I will not discuss in detail. You can just read, no? Or this presentation I'm sure will be shared to everyone, and so you can just go back and then read this. Okay, now using this information as the baseline, then we can incorporate, no, the different secondary data that are already available to us. No? The good thing is that the Philippine Statistics Authority now makes available almost all information online. No? So you just go to their website and then you can just download their information. As you can see, many of the information that I'm showing in this slide are actually generated from the Philippine Statistics Authority. Okay. Now, from this slide, I would like to, so what I would like to say is that with the incorporation of the different available data, then we can do visualization and then monitoring of livelihood, food security, and then even the impacts of climate change at the national, regional, and local levels. No? So to be able to show how we can then downscale this at the regional level, let me then from here on focus my presentation to the BARM. No? So the BARM has this livelihood zone map. No? Compared to the national level, out of the 10, BARM has 8 major livelihood zones. So they have annual crop zones. They have aquaculture coastal fisheries, aquaculture freshwater fisheries, built-up areas, irrigated rice, perennial crops, rain-fed rice, and then sugarcane. Okay. Now, using again this information, how can then we then tie it up with the climate change? No? So, using the livelihood zones, we can then look at the susceptibility of the different areas to different natural hazards. No? So here, as you can see, we're looking at typhoon, no? And it seems that in this part of the country, typhoon is not a big problem. But flood is, no? So a large portion of the region is actually susceptible to flood. No? As you can see, basically on the Maguindanao provinces and then part of the Lanao del Sur, and also some parts of the Basulta area. What about drought? Drought is also a concern in the region, especially in the Basulta area, and then in the south eastern portion of the Maguindanao provinces. Note that even, especially in Hulo, there's a high susceptibility to drought. Now, storm surge is also another concern in the area. Again, especially in the Basulta area and in the Cotabato area. Especially that particular area facing the sea. What about sea level rise? No, so sea level rise at this particular area is not that big concern. Saltwater intrusion is also not a big concern at the moment. No. So given those information, how can we then come up with how can then we come up with a cluster analysis, no, based on livelihood zones? No? So here I'm showing you, we can come up with the usual regional or provincial summary, no? But note that it would definitely be very different, no? A new perspective will be provided to us if we look at the different problems or issues using the livelihood zones, no? So note, for example, that when you look at the whole BARM region, the biggest proportion would say that they're actually having problem with flood, no? Or they're susceptible to flood, no? Whereas when you consider, for example, a livelihood zone, no, that accounts for about 32% of the area in BARM, 45% are actually highly susceptible to drought, no? So again, different ways of looking at things, but what we're saying is using the livelihood zone, then we will be able to have more ways of understanding the relationship with climate change and then food security and even other issues in the country. Okay, now, so those are what's already available now. So what's for us in the future? Now, for us to be able to answer that, then let's look at the crop suitability in the future. Again, here, I'm showing you a model which look at the bananas, no? Again, one of the crops that we examine, no, in our project, and then looks at what's the potential, no, for cultivating this particular product, no, in 2030 and then 2050, given two scenarios, no. So bananas are used as representative of the perennial crops zone in this particular region. Now, as you can see, bananas are expected to have less suitable cultivation or prospect, no, in the future with RCP 4.5 over time. Or sorry, 8.5 compared with RCP 4.5. Now here, let me just say, or underscore the fact that we definitely need to do something about the greenhouse gas, because again, looking at the data, it would be good to reduce the amount of greenhouse gas over time, and it would also be good for bananas, especially in barn. Let's look at rice crops. What's the susceptibility, the suitability, of this product, representing the irrigated and rain-fed rice zones in barn. So rice crops are expected to have less suitability under both RCP 8.5 and 4.5 for both 2030 and 2050. Okay, so with that message, what are we saying? We're not saying to stop planting rice. What we're saying is to prepare, for this kind of scenario in the future. So this early, we should be able to institute mitigations. We should be able to institute activities that would mitigate this kind of scenario in the future, but not entirely to stop, planting rice, especially in areas that are labeled as red here, or those areas that have suitability loss over time. What about vegetable cultivation? So the vegetable here represents the annual crop zones in barn. So the good thing is, if we look at vegetable cultivation, which is one component of the annual crop zone, there's actually a very good prospect, for it over time, under both 8.5 and 4.5 scenario. So as you can see, almost all of the region have suitability gain. What about root crops. No? So again, if you remember, we look at two root crops in our analysis. No? One is garlic, the other one is onion. No? So garlic would have a fairly good prospect, no, for its cultivation over time for both 8.5 and 4.5. No? But onions will have less suitability over time. Okay, now given those information, how can we then develop a tailored climate change adaptation responses? So we're thinking, based on the information that we already have, no, not only at the administrative region, but across different clusters, no, we can then come up with more adaptive responses. No? So on the left side, you would see a summary of information pertaining to a particular crop livelihood zone. No? In this case, perennial, which accounts again for the largest area in the region. No? So in terms of crop suitability outlook, so we are saying that based on the analysis, it's more suitable to plant, no, vegetable and some root crops such as garlic over time, no, but less suitable for other root crops such as onion. No? And then there's variability in terms of the suitability of rice and corn over time. Now, in terms of the climate risk susceptibility, at least 3 out of the 6 natural hazards are said to be highly susceptible for the region, namely flood, drought, and storm surge. What's the potential impact to food security? Well, of course, if there's variability in terms of the production of rice and corn, and then less suitability for other products, then there's a potential decrease, no, in food production, which is part of the availability pillar of food security. There's also variability in household income, no, over time. So that would then impact the access of household to food. And then there would be impact on dietary preferences. Now, what can we do given this information? Now, well, the first thing we think is we should be able to institute the last mile climate services. So the idea of the last mile climate services is to bring down this kind of information to the community and individuals so that when they do their decisions, no, they're more guided, no, especially the farmers. We're also thinking that the government, no, both at the regional and even local level, should be able to provide for climate resilient crops, no, or at least access to these crops. Then be able to undertake mitigation projects such as supporting upstream watershed rehabilitation, small farm reservoir development, and then building of irrigation systems. Now, highlighting here the word system, no. So the interventions, the initiative should really be systemic. No? It should not be one-stop packet and then non-integrated approaches. No? Also, there should be a support for diversification of livelihood. Now, again, what we've started is just a base map, and we're seeing less diversity in terms of the major activities in the country. There's only 10 largely agriculture-based activities right now, but we haven't really mapped, no, the whole complexities, no, the whole diversity of urban livelihood. No? But we need to look into that. Now, in particular, in BARM, for example, when you look at the whole food supply chain, no, there's really lack in terms of food processing. And I think, especially for BARM, the regional government and even the local government unit should be able to promote, no, or probably teach people how to process food. And then we should be able to do social and behavioral change communication. Probably this early, we should be able to tell people, hey, look, slowly, we should increase probably the consumption of vegetable. Because over time, the prospect of, you know, cultivating rice is very less suitable in some areas, but vegetable there's a good prospect for it. No? Okay, so given all of those information right now, no, what are our call to action? And I think this has, in a way, related to what Sir Ernie requested a while ago. No? So, though I entitled this as a call to action, this is really a request, no, to everyone. So we already have the Philippine Livelihood Zone map. It's still crude at the moment. We know there's still a lot to improvement, no, that we can do, but please help us use it and then update it. Now, for example, we haven't really collected any what do you call this, production data at the city and municipal level. No, most of the information right now are available at the provincial level, but it would be good to go down to the city and municipal level and then be able to incorporate that to the analysis. No? So that when we look at the different clusters, we'll be able to see how how good it is, no, to develop, for example, rice in the irrigated rice zones, no. And then the second message is that climate change is real, no, and its impact on food security can already be felt now. We have enough information to be able to say that climate change would definitely impact our food security now and in the future. So our call to action really and request to everyone is we need to act together and we need to act now. And I think this is the first, the starting point, no, reaching out to ABC MAP group to be able to realize that. I'll end my presentation here. Thank you for your attention. And if you want more information, please check our web, Facebook and also our Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I already see a hand that's raised. I already see that our chat is already blowing up with a lot of messages, especially from Lene. So just a little patience. I will get to you in a bit. So Noy, thank you so much for your presentation. It's really nice to know that the World Food Program is still embarking on initiatives like these here in the Philippines. And that this type of information can be very, very useful, really, especially when we're thinking about how we can sorry, how we can improve our ability to, as you've mentioned, you've mentioned certain use cases, what kind of clustering we can look at that would be more effective, how can we maximize the production capacities of different types of crops in different areas, how that can tie into a greater value chain system, especially when it comes to, let's say, where we can locate production areas for further processing and things like that. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions coming in from our audience. So we'll open the floor for questions. During the formal session, I'd like to ask everyone to please limit yourselves to just one question and then maybe one follow-up if it's a quick one and very related to your initial question. Otherwise, we will give way to as many people asking questions as possible. So Bernie, please, our first question for 2024.
Yeah. No, my question is in terms of the crops that you selected, apparently coconut is a predominant one, but it wasn't included. Maybe you can explain how come?
Okay, thank you for that question, Miss Bernie. Really good question. Well, the first phase of the project was really just a 6 months project. No? It was the height of the pandemic, and we only have limited resources at that time. No? And even mobility was quite limited. So we were really limited, no, on the number of crops that we can then consider for analysis. And so after a thorough discussion with our consultant, we decided on the 6. No? And of course, that's the reason why I'm saying, there's still room for updating the project, no? Especially, for example, considering, for example, coconut. No? Right now, no, though you see, for example, sugarcane there as one of the major livelihood zones, still limited in the BARM. No? So the large Negros Island is still largely categorized under different labels. No? But we're wondering why, for example, given all the available data sets, sugarcane, for example, did not materialize or was not present during our analysis in that particular part of the country. We all know that sugarcane is indeed one major product of that region, right? No, so again, there's a lot of space, there's a lot of room for more analysis. What we're really excited is that with the base map, with the initial findings that we have right now, there's really a lot of potential to incorporate more analysis. And I think the collaboration with different organizations is really welcome, no, to be able to realize that. Over.
Thank you, Noy.
Mr. President, may I intervene with one question because it may be related to our audience worldwide. May I ask a question, Mr. President?
Sure, come in. Yeah.
Yes. The very important aspect right now in your talk is not only the climate change aspect, but the idea of clustering itself. So for the people around the world to hear about this, and we can follow it up in the informal session between 9 and 10. But I want the people in the world to know this now. Do you know about how to make clusters out of these small farms? Is that part of your expertise or not?
No, Sir Ernie, that's not part of my expertise. No, the small farm.
So your expertise is more the climate change aspect. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, very much. Dean, please. Dean? Okay, very good. No, you're still mute. You're still mute.
Masyadong mabilis. Noy, thank you very much. You know, a long time ago, I had the chance to be the spokesperson of Juni Calao. And when he passed away, Maurice Strong of the United Nations University thanked me and all the others who helped spread whatever action to be taken on the Earth Council. My question to you is, because Rene Pamintuan and the foundation, there was a time we were trying to see if we could register all the fishermen and small farmers, okay? Because the DA doesn't seem to have that database. Based on your findings the past months that you've been studying, would you have access to some data as to who the farmers and fishermen are to get us started by first identifying how many people need to be helped in what regions, seeing that you've covered so much already in your report, but we could take off from there and really cover the whole country and identify how many small farmers and fishermen are really involved in our archipelagic country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for that question. For this particular project, we did not, look at the particular farmers or their organizations. No, but the good thing, ma'am, is that the Department of Agriculture now has a registry. No, and they call that the registry system for basic sectors in agriculture. I know, ma'am, that a lot of people are already, registering in that system. No, although I heard from one women's organization, women's farmers organization, one of their critique is that most of the, for example, given a couple, I think only the men are registered in the system. So I think that's so that's one inadequacy of the system. But that was 2 years ago, no. So I don't know if they've already, addressed that by now, no. But again, I think that's one new development from the Department of Agriculture po.
Thank you, Noy. Well, at least with our collaboration after the meeting, as Ernie said, we hope to be able to find out how we can help you. In the same time, you helping us fulfill our mission on helping many more sectors in our country. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome po. And I really I look forward to that discussion. And let me, Julius, if I may take some time, no, also to probably acknowledge the comments there on the chat box, no, especially from Sir Rene. Sir Rene, thank you, no, for the kind words. And I think it's really good, no, to have this kind of analysis. No, we've been really trying to, do this project for quite some time now, but only was able to realize it during the pandemic, no. In 2021 po, we've already reached out to the Department of Agriculture, and as a matter of fact, they're part of the technical working group, no, but only AMIA, that certain one of the offices there, no, and they're pretty much aware. But the good thing with AMIA is I think they're the one managing the color-coded map for farmers, no, guide map for farmers in DA, no. So what we would like to do now is actually to overlay the result of the livelihood zone map with their crop suitability map in the DA color coded. The discussion is still ongoing, but we're almost there. So if we are able to realize that, that would really be good. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for that. Just for the benefit of people who are joining us online, because they won't, well, in the future joining us online because they won't be able to see the comments that Rene made. Rene, would you like to just briefly summarize, because we still have a question from Cesar and another from Judy, your thoughts on the presentation so we can contextualize the comments that Noy just made. Rene, please come in.
Yes. Hi. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
I'm so amazed that we have a tool for analyzing climate change and food production in the country. I have been dealing with a lot of DA personnel, and yet no one has told me anything about this. I even wonder whether they are even aware that there is such a tool available. Uh, Another one that I would like to point out is that because the rural poverty index is strongest in the provinces, di ba? Maybe your study can also indicate that, no? It can also merge that information to show that where the government should really be working on. I think that if the government realizes that there is extreme poverty in a lot of those areas that you're pointing out at, they might be able to conduct other mediation procedures to make it work. By the way, just for the information of our speaker, isa ako sa mga nagpo-point out that we need value chain and supply chain systems. Food production should reach a level of value adding doon pa lang sa probinsya. In our present system right now, maybe you can also include this in your study, because there is very little value adding among the provinces. Most of the value adding systems and factories and cold storage, for example, do not exist in the rural areas. They exist within the Metro Manila and surrounding regions, because what they are existing for right now is to support the import industry, di ba? They are supporting the demand area. So the imports are coming in, flooding the whole Metro Manila areas, because there is a support system of value adding and cold storage system within that area. The sad reality is that tayong mga here in the Philippines, we have not seen and we have not been able to conduct the setting up of food terminals in all of the regions around the country. And without the food, kasi binanggit mo kanina yung value adding. And yes, of course, I agree very much. I agree that we need to set up the regional food terminals in all the regions so that spoilage and perishability, which is the farmers' enigmatic problem ever since, can be resolved. Hindi eh. We're not doing that right now. So, ergo, ang mangyayari ngayon, we will continue to be importing. We will continue to be importing. Rather than developing our own production, because the DA is blind and deaf in not seeing that we need value chain development in all the regions, eh di wala pa rin mangyayari. Ganun pa rin ang babagsakan natin. It will still be imports for probably at least 10 years. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, Rene, for that one. Just so that our audience online, when they see this, will have some context for the response of Noy later on. Okay, there's 2 questions left. So I think we have time to squeeze that. I'll just get to Juvi's and then to Cesar's. So Juvi Bitayo, would you like to turn on your camera and ask your question online, or will I read that out for you?
Hello, good morning. Opo, bali, ang question ko lang po ay nag-root lang din sa yung ginagawa namin kasi ngayong project. I just want to ask if you have an information po if the white oyster mushroom is also widely grown in our country or in what specific region, if you have some information po. And if it is a kind of crop na kaya pong i-sustain or doon po mahihit yung sinasabi or ma-include siya doon sa clustering na sinasabi nyo na may potential ba siyang gawing i-consider na as a crop for farmers?
Quickly, Julie, yeah, thank you for the question. No? Unfortunately, the analysis did not include the oyster mushroom right now. No? So I'm not in the position to probably respond to your question intelligently.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you for that question. I'm going to, I mean, again, what we're seeing is that this is a work in progress, no? This CCFSA, and we'll definitely take note of these kinds of questions, no?
All right po. Okay lang, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Yeah. Noy did mention that there are certain constraints. We can't do all the crops, but yes, I think this is something that's interesting to see. Okay, and then last from Cesar.
Yeah. I thank you very much for a pioneering and informative presentation. Just 2 points. One is there are 3 items. First is you're already in production and maganda yung clustering ginagawa nyo, no? May I suggest that you also bring up markets, study the markets for these. Konektado dyan yung sa supply and value chain sinabi ni Rene Pamintuan. And the third aspect there is the income. Are the farmers making money? How much money? My bias, which came out when I did the coconut study for CAMP, is that when we talk about markets, we must already study the global, national, local, regional markets. Hindi lang yung kung saan, the next barangay or the next municipality. But we must understand the global markets. Because if we do not understand the global markets, patuloy ang imports and smuggling. Okay, so I think maganda yun na yung ginawa mo sa production eh. If World Food Program can expand to markets, and really these are markets, supply value chains, and really before and after planting and harvest, kumita ba yung magsasaka? So the farmer income profitability. Second is I'm happier in BARM. And there were BARM representatives before the COVID, in these weekly talks. There was something I wanted to bring up to BARM, especially with Basilan, Suluta, Witawi. Why not think up of the islands becoming future Hong Kongs? It's a wild idea, but that's it. I mean, we have to be wild, connecting first also BARM and the Basilan, Suluta, Witawi. What are the foreign markets? Remember, we are in BIMP Iaga. I don't know what has happened to that. So those are the 2 things, market, supply value chain, and incomes of the farmers and fishermen. And then think wild. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. Any comment on that, Noy?
Well, siguro lang quickly, Julius, thank you, Sir Cesar, no? And well noted po, and thank you for all these inputs. This will really help us, no, in pushing through with the project, no. Yes, sir. I really like that wild idea. Sabi mo nga, we really need to be out of the box. The future HK, definitely po. And siguro in reference lang doon sa sinabi ni Sir Ernie kanina, sir, ano ba yan? Sir, definitely po, we have to do value. We need to add value, no, to the raw materials that we're producing. If you look at the regional GDP of BARM, it actually performed well during the pandemic, no. But it's never being enjoyed by people living in the region. No? Why? Because the region remains to be a main source of raw material. No? So for example, Basulta, one of their main products there is seaweeds. No? But nobody is processing that. it's being exported as a raw material outside. But in Metro Manila, we're actually buying seaweeds that are already processed, no, from Korea. So something like that. No? So definitely po, this will help us in our analysis. Thank you.
All right, so it's 9:06. We're a little over time, and if you are joining us online through our free uploads on our social media, I'm afraid that's the extent of what you can get for free. First of all, let's give our certificate of appreciation to our speaker for this morning. May we please flash that on screen? Right. So the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation, in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines, together with our special partner institutions, seniors, special partner institutions, corporate members, and individual members, all of us here present the certificate of appreciation to Juanito Noy G. Berja Jr. for his invaluable support in the advocacy and promotion of agribusiness and countryside development, and for his commendable and unselfish services rendered to this foundation as our resource speaker. For our first weekly online meeting of 2024, given this 9th day of January in Makati City, Philippines, signed Ernie Ordonez as our chairman and myself as our president. And now may I please invite everyone in your may I please invite everyone to turn on your cameras, give us your biggest smiles. Our first one for the new year. Just for some documentation. Vicky, Catherine Serrano, Richard. Hi, Richard. It's nice to see you in the new year. Ernie, if we can see your faces, please. Elsa. Okay. Again, can you count the same?
All right, boss. Smile on 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you po.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And do we have a topic for next week already, Bernie?
Yeah, we're talking about edible cutlery. It won the Swiss Innovation Contest. So what the people who will be coming to our forum would be the professor of the business education program and the engineering student, who I think is a fourth-year student, who will discuss the details. We'll send you the detail. There it is. It is called Edge Tech.
All right. So edible cutlery. All right. Especially for the pursuit of sustainability and the end of single-use plastics. All right. So thank you very much for that, Bernie, for bringing another interesting Filipino innovation to the forums for next week. Okay, but sadly, as I've mentioned, if you are joining us for free through our uploads, this is the extent of what you can get. If you are interested in today's, if you're interested in joining us for informal sessions, if you feel that we have brought you value in any way, or if you have questions, comments, or you're wondering more about today's session or previous sessions, do leave us a comment, ask your questions, leave your ideas, suggestions, things that you might feel might add more value to what you've learned for today. And if you feel that if you'd like to join us for informal sessions, so that you can have access to our speaker or to our wide network of agribusiness and countryside development organizations and professionals, do consider joining us as a member. The Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation is in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines. We are a non-profit member-supported foundation, and it's only through the generosity and support of our members that we're able to bring you our sessions every week. If this interests you in any way and you'd like to contribute to what we do, our links are in the description. You can send us an email, introduce yourself, and we'd really be happy to have you on board. But other than that, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we hope to see you in the next session. Have a good day. Bye-bye.